On today's episode, we are going to smoke us a bottom round roast, and a challenge on this cut of meat is it's working muscles from the hind quarter of a steer, and there's really no marbling or anything in it, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to see how it comes out. Yeah, we're getting ready to plant the garden, so we're going to get all that stuff out of the way, get cleaned up, get that hunk of meat out, and we'll be back to get this thing rolling. Hey, if you like what you see, this recipe, check out all the other recipes. Hey, support the channel, like, subscribe, share it with all your friends. It's always appreciated. Okay, we need to make an injection for this because, you know, like I told you, it's very lean, so we're going to try to get as much moisture as we can inside this piece of meat. It's like 4.8 pounds. Use Miners. This is beef base and au jus. You can find this stuff online. Really good product. Works really good, and if you want to make vegetable soup, it works really good for that. You've used it for that, haven't you?
I have.
And it makes a really good vegetable soup. So anyway, what we've got, when you're going to make this injection up, and it's also going to do double duty as our mop sauce, and just going to take a tablespoon of each one of these. Put this in there, then we'll heat it up, get it dissolved, and then let it cool a little bit, and then we're going to inject that into this beef roast. So be right back when that's finished. The injection's ready, we're ready, the meat's definitely ready. So we're going to inject some of this into this roast because, and good thing it has a fat cap, a little bit of a fat cap, and I'm just going to leave that on there, try to retain as much moisture as I can in the meat while we're cooking. You don't have to serve that, you can slice that off, you know, before you serve it, or as you make a slice, you know, just trim it off the bottom, but that's how we're going to do it today. So the only other thing when you're injecting this, the grain's running this way. I don't know if you can see the grain on the camera or not, but you can see the grain's running this direction, so we're going to go into that meat with the grain. We always slice against the grain, but we're going to inject with the grain. Man, that vegetable oil made that go slick. I oiled up my O-ring in here in the injector because usually they're a tug of war, but just want to kind of go into the grid and try to make sure you get as much in there as it'll hold. Okay, that's as much injecting as I'm going to do. Now, seasoning wise, I'm going to go real simple here. We're just going to use some salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic, and we're going to give them probably just a kind of a medium coat, kind of going old school, just real simple. Make sure you get your ends. Go with the pepper. Now we're going to use the big offset pit, and I'm going to try to run this thing for a couple hours at a pretty low temp just to get smoke on it. And then we're going to bring it back in, pan it, and we're going to braise it for the main part of the cook, which is going to help, you know, keep the moisture and make this tender, because that's kind of what we're fighting on this piece of meat. Now the garlic. Give it a good medium coat. Get it everywhere. And then the onion powder, and we're going to be done. Got the same coat as everything else, just a medium coat. And we're done. This thing's going to sit here and I want it to sit here and rest. I want those seasonings to sweat in just a little bit. I'm going to go out and get that pit going, get it up to temp, and when it's time to throw it out there into some smoke, we'll be right back. Okay, we're out here at the cooker, and what we've got, the temp's running about, I don't know, between 225 and 250. I put about 3/4 of a chimney of charcoal down there in the firebox, and I have my water pan set down on this end like I always do, because we want to keep as much moisture as we can inside this chamber, because like I've said a couple times now, there's not much marbling in this piece of meat. So I really want to stay 225 and under for the first hour or so of this, or maybe even hour and a half, because I want to get as much smoke into this before we start the braising process. And I know, because I've cooked on this thing for probably 6 or 7 years now, down here on this end I'm 25 degrees cooler than whatever this says. And you might ask how I know this. Well, I bought an oven thermometer and I set it in here and I checked to see what the temp was down here, and then compared that to this, and it's like 25 degrees cooler down here on this end. So that's where we're going to stick this piece of meat. So let's get this thing in there. Whew, that's pecan wood. Normally I use hickory on beef, but I'm almost out of hickory, and pecan's really close to a hickory flavor, so that's what we're going to use. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to lay that in there at the short side this direction, because I want the smoke to come up over top of it, and if I turned it around, the smoke would come into that tall side, and then you wouldn't get any smoke on this end. So anyway, that's where that thing's going to live here for the next, I don't know, hour and a half or 2 hours. Probably mop it hour or so. So we'll come back when it's time to mop. It's been an hour. Temp still is just a little under 250. And we're going to open this up and look. I haven't seen it yet, and we're going to mop it for the first time. Ooh, it's smoky. Still got water in the water pan. Always check that when you're in here. And then we're just going to let some of that run down on there. We just want to keep this moist. Don't want it drying out on us. You can hear it dripping down into the catch pans in the bottom. I don't know if they can hear that or not, but I'm sure you probably can. That's pretty much it right there. So we're going to let this thing continue to smoke for probably, I don't know, I'll give it another 45 minutes. Then I'm going to check the temp. We're only really looking for a finish temp here, about 135, 140. It's really going to depend on, where you want your meat at. If you want medium rare, take it out of there about 135. You want medium, 145. And then up from there, medium well's 155, and of course well done's 165. So anyway, we're shooting for about 140, right in there. But we also want to bring it in and pan it here in a minute. So we'll be back when it's time to do that. We're 2 hours in, and this will probably be our last shot outside here at the pit, because it won't be long we'll be bringing this thing in. Plus we're losing light, as you can tell. So one other trick, I'll tell you this. I got another 3/4 of a chimney lit. My coals were getting down pretty good. My temperature was dropping. Grab a handful of wood chips and throw in there while your next chimney's getting lit, and it'll carry you through. Like right now, it's actually a little bit hotter than I want, and coals, I don't know if you can see down in here or not. You have to move that camera. You can see how a little bit of fire is in that firebox. I mean, and it's wanting to run at 275. Now I did have to adjust up here, and right now I'm going to shut that thing down because it's really a little bit hotter than what I want, but you saw how little bit of coals there were in there. Anyway, let's take a look at this. I want to check my water pan. Water pan still has water. I want to check my internal temp. It's 111. So I'm going to go ahead and mop this, but to tell you the truth, I think I'm ready to bring this in and put it in the pan. So I'm going to mop this thing right here a little bit, and then we're going to be right back and in the house and putting this thing in the pan. Just brought this thing in. It was right after I mopped it that last time. So I'm guessing it's probably still in the 110 range. And I know I said I was going to make sandwiches out of this. I think that'll come later. Yeah, 109. So this is going to work out great. What we're going to do, we decided to make this a roast. And we're just going to throw some potatoes and onions in here. And probably heat up some green beans to go with it when we're done. So we're just going to throw this stuff in here right now. Got away potato. Okay. Just kind of spread them around a little bit. Have more room on that side, honey. Okay. Must be our onion section. Okay, this is our mop. It was also our injection. I've been keeping this warm on the stove, so when I go out and mop it, I'm not mopping it with a cool liquid. So we're just going to pour some of this in here. We also debated on whether or not to set this in a rack or put a rack in this pan and set it on it. But we kind of decided that since it has the fat cap on the bottom, that it's basically going to serve as our rack. So we've added our liquid into it. We're going to cover this up. And also, while I had it out here, I put my coals in. So I like to do that. I like to time it like that to where, you know, you're in here working with the meat, because when you put your new coals in, the temperature spikes for about 15 or 20 minutes, and that gives you some time, some work time in the house with your piece of meat. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, throw it back out there on the cooker, and when it gets up to, you know, 140 or so, we'll come back and look at it. Hey, just got back from throwing that thing back out there on the pit. I forgot to tell you that from this point on, we're going to run about 275. The reason we stayed low is because I wanted to get as much smoke into that meat as we could, so I stayed around 275 or 225. Now we're going to bump the temp up and we're going to run 275, which when I went back out there, remember I told you the temp was going to spike when I added the coals. It was running about 280, so I'm just going to watch it for a minute. It's going to come down to that 275, and then I'll just control the temp from there. Just brought this in off the pit. It's been just shy of 4 hours. The thing's looking really good. You can see how easy that probe went in. We got a 140, and that's a 145. So we're going to let this rest probably 15-20 minutes. And then we're going to slice into it. We're going to take a taste of it, and man, it's going to be yummy, I guarantee it. Been resting about 20 or 25 minutes, and we're going to slice into this and see what we got. Now, it ended up going just short of 4 hours. I think I used, I don't know, I think I used 3/4 and 3/4 chimneys, another half a chimney. So, but anyway, we ran 225 for the first 2 hours of smoke, 275 after that. So we're going to cut into this and see where we're at here. Okay, look at the smoke ring on this thing. That is amazing. Look at this smoke ring.
Wow.
Let's slice some more. Get us another slice off of here. Now I took this to 140, 145. It was different temps in different spots, but basically that's where I'm at. And, I mean, it's still red, but it's not running blood. And who likes that?
Not me.
What? You,
Oh.
you want it to run blood?
Oh, no, no, I don't like blood.
That.
No, I don't like blood. Just seen it.
Oh, it looks juicy. It looks juicy. Let's take a bite off of this.
Looks tender.
It's tender. Oh my God. Look at the smoke ring. Let's pull a piece of that. Really good. I mean, pretty cheap cut of meat. Really good flavor. You gotta try this one out. Until next time, keep smoking.